All right. So who's a liar? Okay, that's the question that we really got to get down to. Who is more of a liar? And I need you to vote down in the comment section down below before we even get into this. If you had to pick a liar in this group, okay, who would it be? And you can only pick two, okay? Now, I'm going to say allegedly because that's what we do over here, okay? But if you had to pick the bigger liar of this trio, because the allegations are out there, take your pick. Is Drew the bigger liar, okay, as Porsha has stated, or is Porsha the bigger liar, as Drew is stating, or is Mia the bigger liar, as Gizelle is stating? Those are your three options. Now, I just want you to weigh in, actually, maybe rank the liars from biggest to least. So the biggest liar will be number one. The second biggest liar is number two. And the third biggest liar is number three. Just let us know in the comments. That's the first thing I want you to do. Just tell us. Rank the liars who are allegedly lying. I don't know that any of these women are liars because I can't say that. But what I can say is what their castmates are saying. So we're going to get into that. Yesterday, we had talked about some things that, Porsha had said about Drew down at the Bravo Fan Fest. One of the things that she said was that when asked about who needs to be more unfiltered on their show, she said Drew Sidora. Because she said Drew Sidora is filtered with lies. And if you live in your authentic truth, then you won't have to remember the alternative facts of what you told us. Apparently, Ralph Pittman, aka Drew Sidora's husband, estranged husband, almost divorced husband, allegedly maybe, living in the basement, has basically liked said tweet. Well, not the tweet, but the video of Porsha calling out Drew. Kenya Moore fans, an Instagram account, posted in their story, F you, Ralph Pittman, disrespecting Queen Drew Sidora by liking a comment Porsha made that was disrespectful towards Drew. You are a coward. In return, after reposting that, Drew then posted this in response to the Real Housewives of Atlanta talk. I'm assuming this is either on X or on Threads. I don't know. I can't tell the difference. But she reposted it. The statement was Porsha reveals that Drew needs to be more unfiltered, and members and mentions a newbie came in hot and ready on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I forgot about that part yesterday when we ran down our Bravo fan fest tea. I must shout out Chris, aka C Diggy on YouTube, for getting plenty of airtime down at the Bravo Fan Fest and asking the questions we all want to know. Maybe I should have Chris back on the show so he can give us the real tea about what his real thoughts were on Bravo Fan Fest. However, in the meantime, until we get a chance to do that, we see that Drew has basically responded to Porsha and says, hello, Pot. I'm Kettle. Didn't you leave the show on a lie? Returned and returned to creating lies because someone couldn't talk about someone. Well, apparently that someone is probably Simon, who is ready, willing, and able to come down off of his chariot and throw tomatoes with Porsha. So again, I ask you, who is the bigger liar between Porsha and Drew? Comment below. Now that we've gotten that out of the way, let's talk Potomac. Okay, let's talk about it. We are on, what is this? Episode 8 of season 9. It's called I'm healing, I'm thriving and surviving. I'm healing, I'm thriving, I'm surviving. Healing and thriving and surviving. I'm a survivor. I'm not gonna give up. Okay, so this episode is obviously an homage to Ashley and her vocals. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Ashley, we'll get into that when I need to get into it. Okay. I will let you guys know that Ashley in real life is a great sport about commentary on the show. So I know that I am safe to say what I need to say, and she does not take these things personally. I know this because I've had that conversation with her. So we're gonna give it like it needs to be given. We are. And we know that Ashley's a good sport about it. So stay tuned. But the episode is basically the synopsis reads as such. Wendy preps for her 40th birthday bash and tries to bring her extended family together. Karen's big day in court arrives, and Ashley performs her new hit single at a GNA event. Gizelle and Mia's confrontation causes issues within the group. Now, I literally just watched the episode. And you know what? I had an epiphany. Chrisette Michelle style. Y'all still holding a grudge against Chrisette Michelle? I think I didn't let it go. I let it go a long time ago. I did. I did. I did. I think she got a good heart, and her music is good. And she does, and I think she tries to do a lot of work to help a lot of people. Side note, I do have some consultation time open today for those of you guys who want consultation and mentorship. Click the link down below. It's the Stand Store link, and you can hop on in at a time. But please do it before the time that I need to be on the line with you, so I have time to prepare, because I got to get my notes down and all the things ready so I can be sitting down with you to listen and understand what your needs are. Okay. I am not a therapist. I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist, or a financial expert. I do give you those disclaimers. I am someone who is in the entertainment space, who has experienced a lot of things, okay, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. And I know that for a lot of you guys, you are interested in trying to just get unstuck in some areas. This is a great way to have a breakthrough. Okay. Now, with that being said, let's get into the episode. I thought my epiphany, as I was so distracted, was that this group seems very much more friendly than previous seasons. Therefore, I don't find myself hate watching the show anymore. I find myself ready for Potomac. I'm kind of like, okay, this feels better. This feels good. I feel like everybody is trying to, they'll have an issue, but they'll still be relatively cool, which is nice to see. Some things are being wrapped up from some seasons from before, but some new questions are being asked about situations, and we got to cover some of those things today. So if I had to rate this episode, I would give it a 9.5. There wasn't much that I felt like I needed more of, but I didn't feel like it was quite a 10. Um, I would have preferred a little more chaos and confusion. And by chaos and confusion, I don't mean knockdown, drag out fights and crazy accusations, but I don't know. It gave me a lot of what I liked in Housewives. It gave me a fabulous party, plenty to sink my teeth into, TJ. Okay. Um, and questions, more questions than answers, right? So let's talk specifically to each person's situation. This is why I will probably take away a couple of points from this episode. And maybe looking back over a previous episode, it hit me. In every episode, almost these past few weeks, we've been counting down the days to Karen's court appearance. Now, this would have been it would have been executed better had Karen's court case actually happened and we found out some level of a verdict or something. But because that did not happen, ultimately the countdown leading up to it was much ado about nothing. It would be more impactful if there was some sort of verdict, which by the time you're editing this show, you know that. So we're counting down to nothing. Okay. Now, it is not nothing in the sense of what Karen is going through. And it is not nothing in the fact that we need to be, that the story is happening. And I appreciate, while Karen isn't open about the legalities or what precisely happened that night, outside of what we can see in the black and white citations, it was good to see her interacting with her attorney, her talking to Ray about the situation. We do see some lead up to the day in court. You know, we hear her breaking the fourth wall, asking if the attorney has, if he's not mic'd this, then she pretty much conducts the scene when she gets in the car. Okay, we'll mic up when we'll de-mic when we get in the car, yada yada yada. Yes, Karen, run the scene, please. Absolutely. Produce it. Go ahead. Is your name on the credit like Mariah Huck and Shawnee O'Neal for this episode? Because she was directing the choir. Meanwhile, directing the choir and missing events. But the way the ladies also understood why she was missing the events, I thought that level of grace was something that in previous seasons they would not have given her. And I appreciated that. I really had to appreciate it. There was a moment where Mia asked if she was drunk. The problem with that level, that direction of shade, is that it doesn't benefit Karen in the long run that her supposed social circle is joking about her and her sobriety. Maybe not. Well, yeah, her sobriety. Because if you're saying she's drunk, I mean, there's a little bit of sobriety talk that we're kind of getting into. So I would probably really just kind of watch it with that, regardless of whether or not you think Karen has a drinking problem. And I understand somebody has probably got to acknowledge that if that is true, for the sake of the story, I just think that it could potentially be more harmful for Karen in the long run. But listen, Tamara did it to Shannon, and Shannon basically forgave her at the end of the season. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, but again, even with that shade being thrown, they are still able to coexist. Karen understands how to play the game, and we have to say Mia understands how to play the game, because when they do run into each other, it's still pleasant, right? It's not so contentious that they can't even speak to each other. That's what we were with this show, and we have evolved, and I appreciate that. So we see Karen on her way to court. The ladies have a GNA event. I think that's where this event starts, right? There's a GNA event. I'm a little confused about what GNA actually really means outside of Gizelle and Ashley's business. Is it apparel? Maybe. Is it health and wellness? Maybe. But what is it in the health and wellness? Because what is GNA Fusion? GNA Fusion to me sounds like a drink, like a NutriBurst. You know what I'm saying? For those of you guys who are familiar with TLC products, right? I told y'all, I think I'm about to rejoin the TLC too. Mostly because I like well, first of all, I mean, compensation, but I do like the products as well. That's one of those things where if I like it and I love it, I'm going to do it, right? That's why that's why I got this Rich Life thing going right now. So text Rich Life to 202-918-3386 if you need to. But my thing is, what is it, right? Is it health and wellness events that are partnering with organizations to raise awareness? Is that it? can you accurately just give me a description? So like a log line, a brief elevator pitch of what it is. How can I support? Am I buying something? Am I going to be drinking something? Am I just wearing a t-shirt? Am I just donating to the cause? I think that's where my confusion lies, and I think that's where also Wendy's confusion lies as well. So what is it? What is that? Okay. So they it looks like an outdoor fitness exercise. There are a lot of people there, to their credit. So kudos to them for putting together a successful event. I do like an event that is packed, and it was jam packed. So we have to give them kudos for that. This event, along with their first event of the season, which they kicked the ladies out of, have actually been very high profile style events. And so what we can say is that Gizelle and Ashley, despite how you may feel about them, are doing some work. Okay. And specifically, Ashley worked this episode. Ashley worked the stage. And let's talk about healing and thriving. I need to hear the EDM remix, because the version that I heard live, it was definitely not really. I mean, it was like, um, the way Ashley was sort of reaching for the notes, I think was akin to the exercise of it all. So in that degree, this made sense, right? I'm not saying that Ashley's a bad singer, but what I am saying is that it felt like maybe the live version needed a backing track. Mhm. And to be honest, I also felt like, um, for me, I just it was lacking, in how, like, when Janet and like Britney Spears, they perform and they're doing the dance routines, you know what I'm saying? And sometimes there's probably a little bit of back end, because they are so heavily invested in the routine. It's difficult for me because there was no backing track, there was no routine, and so I have a hard time excusing the various pitches, as they skewed from left to right, but never on the line where I felt like they needed to be. So as a result, what what a very spirited, um you know display of what the song should be, I felt like it fell a little flat, not only in the notes, but also in the lack of, I don't know, choreographed performance. You know? So with that being said, I still congratulate her, because it felt unserious. And that is what I appreciate in a housewives show. When there was a lack of seriousness here. Okay. And what I would say to her is, as someone who used to DJ in front of large audiences, is that preparation is key. Okay. And as my band teacher used to say, you practice like you perform. And if the performance is any indication of what the practice was, I think we need to start there. All right. Now that I've officially given my commentary, Stacy's commentary was also. I identify with Stacy so much, because Stacy to me is trying her hardest to be positive at all times, even in the face of great negativity. And that would be TJ, in my opinion. What I did like about TJ in this scene, not his dancing, because this is about as stiff as Stacy's. But I did appreciate that he was just sitting off to the side while the ladies congregated to talk about Mia and what she got going on with Gordon and Ink. Mia sat the ladies down, and tearfully told them, listen, girls, we had it out with Gordon last week, and he told Ink that I unalived a fetus, and it just was not so good. It was a huge blow up. And so the ladies have varying responses. Of course, Jacqueline is like, oh, it must be very difficult to be in a situation where you are dealing with someone who is maybe in a state of mania, as Mia has suggested. And then Gizelle is very much uninterested in this tea because she doesn't really quite know where Mia's going with it. Ashley is looking like, this is a little much. I don't know. But in Mia's defense, as I processed it, the only thing that I could think is that she needed to be open with them because it was aired, it was filmed. What he said was indeed filmed. So, with the mechanics of a reality TV show, it was going to come out one way or another because Gordon said it, and he stood 10 toes down in what he said. So I don't fault her for trying to get ahead of that, but we will talk more about Mia and her difficulty with timelines. Okay? We'll leave it there. Okay. For a lot of you guys who may be new to my channel, I used to work in public relations. So, and I'm a writer too. So I know how to, tell you a story and give you the full details without, bashing the person or their situation. And it is also actually more fun to me to find creative ways for a lot of you guys who enjoy high level either shade or commentary. Okay. It's fun for me. It's like mental gymnastics sometimes. How do I say it? But at a high level that is still very much understood by most of you. Okay. Now, we've covered that. Ashley has a scene that I feel like needed to happen a very long time ago because it gives us further context into her divorce. This is a scene with her family. I actually enjoy Ashley's scenes with an uncle. Show me Uncle Lump every episode. I don't know why. I feel like Uncle Lump give it to Ashley the way it needs to be given. And I think that is the case with a lot of people's families. Like, only your family can talk to you a certain type of way. Okay. And get away with it. All right. And so they are really able to pour into her. But Miss Mama Sheila, I'm gonna need you to not comment, okay, about Ashley and this man, because Ashley has had to get on you about this decades-long man who she alleges is leeching off of you while you work your butt to the grind. Okay. So Miss Mama Sheila, baby, in this moment, it's probably you just sip your sangria, okay? Just sip your sangria. And y'all know I have the utmost respect for any elder mama, so that's all as much as I can say. Well, that's all I had to say. But really, Ashley is the central figure in this moment because she really reveals, well, it sounds to me like the divorce has come about as a result of, alleged cheating. From my understanding, Ashley is sexually fluid. And as a result, being married to Michael, it sounded like, from what we can recall, they would invite people into their boudoir. And so as you have every right to do if you married. I mean, your marriage is your marriage. Conduct it how you like. Your relationship is always your relationship. I have said it though before that it would have been more interesting had Ashley told us that from the beginning. Therefore, some of the questionable things that we've seen with Michael in the headlines probably would have made a lot more sense at the time. But they go into this moment where she talks about, there was some alleged other situation that she felt like was cheating. And Ashley, it sounds like, is no longer in that space where maybe she wants the relationship to be more polyamorous and more monogamous. And maybe Michael was like, that's not what I signed up for with you. That's not what I want. And so maybe that's where they are. This was probably the scene that gave me the most clarity on where Ashley is and what specifically led to this point. And she also talks about and confirms that there are things that were things that were out there online about him that affected this situation. So are you saying that those things that had the pictures and things like that we could only say allegedly were him, are you saying that those were indeed him? Because now we have got to go back into the archive. I'm only interested because it's been brought up in this episode. Otherwise, I don't care. Like what people do, and I don't really don't. I'm focused on the show, okay? And since you brought it up, now I want to know. Now, we get to Wendy's 40th birthday party, okay? We are on episode 8 and we've celebrated her birthday 14 times. And I was complaining about it week after week, but Wendy, you know what? Being alive these days is just a celebration, okay? When you really think about it, we have gone through a panorama, we have gone through insurrections, we have gone through so much in these past couple of years. And I told y'all I can't do no more political speak on this YouTube channel because I done figured out some things, okay? But having said everything that we have gone through, if you want to celebrate your birthday for 8 episodes, by George, you do it, okay? It is even so bad though at this point that it is actually Ashley's birthday, but Ashley got to celebrate her birthday at Wendy's 4th birthday party. Oh yes, yes she does, yes she does. And Ashley said, "Well, if I'm gonna celebrate my birthday at your birthday party, I'm gonna come half dressed. Okay, I'm gonna have my whole chest out now, and I'm gonna wear a crown. How about that?" I ain't blaming not one bit, but I have to give kudos to Wendy. We had 2 major events in this episode, and I can't overlook that. And the event looked fabulous. I mean, she had the fire people. She had, she arrived on a car, on a boat that looked like a car that went around and 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 around in the lake. I mean, if you don't call that an entrance, I don't know what it is. Although we never saw her arrive, but she just magically appeared later in the scene. So I'm assuming maybe she swam to shore. Who knows? What I do know is I did see a scene that I liked, and that was Mia walking up to Wendy's mother. And I felt like it was going to be an apology to Wendy's mother. I don't quite know if she said, "I'm sorry." Maybe she did. Maybe she didn't. There was Holy Ghost fire. They had a conversation, and I felt like they worked through it. A testament to Wendy's mom that she is a praying woman, okay? A testament to Mia that she had the cojones to walk up to Wendy's mom and spark the conversation. To that, this is what I mean when I say we want to see conflict but resolution. It seemed resolved, so I'm gonna roll with it. If they feel good about it, I feel good about it. I'm just thankful that we saw it. And shout out to the producers for catching the moment, right? Another thing I liked about this episode, Kiana and Mia was going through it, but there were multiple instances in this episode where Kiana and Mia really embraced each other, despite going through it in while they were in the Charlotte. So to me, again, this is why I say this group feels a bit friendlier in this era, and I think I like it because we still have drama and tea and things happening in events, but the contentiousness seems a bit lower, right? There's still drama, but it's not, it's like they kind of just keep it rolling. That was what was so good about Real Housewives of New York City, circa seasons 7 through 10, was that the drama moved fast. Okay. Um, we can debate about whether or not, it was just a bunch of drunk ladies or not. I mean, I felt like a lot of times they were drinking a lot, but whatever. Um, Two things happen in this party that I think we need to discuss is, and we kind of talked about it earlier. You know, TJ is upset because, you know, obviously Stacey has filming obligations while she's at this event. And, maybe TJ being new to this space really doesn't quite understand it. I thought he got it because I respected the way he just sat back and let the ladies have dialogue when he came with Stacey to the GNA event. And I have to give him props for even, showing up in that way. But I have to take away all of those props for the way he spoke to her at that table in front of the people and the cameras, which also goes a long way towards telling me how he speaks to her potentially in private. And one thing that I have learned in my life is that if you allow a person to speak to you in a certain type of way, they will begin to think it's okay. And I think for what we saw with their dynamic, TJ, you don't like her enough for you to be really getting into her like that from what we see on the surface. Um, and even if you did, I don't understand why you felt the way that you felt because she wasn't giving you all the attention when the woman is she's a new person on a reality show. She needs to be in scene. She needs to be interacting. There's a lot she needs to do. If you are uncomfortable and with being not being her center of attention when she clearly can get attention from other men, then you probably need to stay your butt at home and stop getting the TV time that another man could be getting, a man that was actually interested in her to begin with. And then to tell her, even as she's trying to smooth things over, she puts her hand on him. He's like, get your hands off me. And at that point in time, I would have been like, okay, well, you can go because I could get another ride home, baby. I mean, it ain't even all that. Like you're not giving me enough for me to be like taking this from you. And Stacey, I'm gonna tell you like this. We gotta learn from experience. If they talk to you like that and they treat you like that, now it will only get worse. You have got to be careful about how people treat you when they get upset. I always say that. So that was a minuscule thing when you had to focus on your work and you could not give him enough attention. When, if I recall correctly, when in the first scene we were introduced to him, he was way more interested in giving Coach G attention than he was to you. Okay? In fact, he didn't even hug you. He went to hug him first. So for somebody who is so concerned with the amount of attention that they give, he sure isn't willing to give the same attention that he's requiring. And I need you to see that, Stacey, because you're too beautiful for that. Moving along, the second thing we need to discuss about this particular scene was Mia. Apparently, Mia last week, well, not last week, earlier in the episode, tells the ladies that, as a result of what has happened between, Ink and Gordon, that Ink has decided to take a step back from trying to, sort of have this blended family relationship. Apparently, the next day, within 24 hours, there was a photo or an Instagram story of all of them at the pool together with Gordon, and Ink is pouring, Gordon a shot. So I'm gonna. So Gizelle brings this up to the group as the ladies gather at the end of the night. Side note, it was so cute to me that Stacy was learning what a drag king was, and she's talking to Ray about it, of all people. And I'm thinking to myself, Stacy, like, I don't know how old Ray is at this point, and kudos to Ray for always showing up. But I'm like, girl, if you don't know what a drag king is, why would Ray know or even be interested? I don't like that. Was to me like you couldn't have asked nobody, but it is completely Stacy to ask Ray that. Like, it makes so much sense. I just that moment just was like, Stacy, you are like a breath of fresh air. You know what I'm saying? It was good. So as Gizelle confronts Mia about, well, girl, what's the tea with, you told us and had us rallying around you the other day, yesterday, that you, Ink, and Gordon had a falling out and that Ink had determined to take a step back. So now we see a photo, a video of Ink pouring Gordon a shot or something like that. I don't recall what it was. And everybody's at the pool. What is really going on in this situation? And even as the camera in the confessional goes to Mia to describe what's happened, Mia is tongue tied. She is like, it's a tongue twister. It's like she can't even formulate the words to really explain what is happening. Now, the appropriate response could have been, Mia, that, well, this is an example of how the mania, if that's what we're going with, is impacting all of us. Some days he is good, and honestly, I am in love with my man, and I determined that I need to keep trying to make this happen. But instead, what Mia does is she confuses not only production, not only the audience by stumbling through her explanation, but she also confuses the ladies who she made it feel like, oh, I don't even know if we're gonna it almost read like on camera, like as she's telling them the story, Ink is gonna pull back from me or all of this altogether. And I think she should do a better job of explaining what that really means. And I think she also cannot be she can't be tongue tied in a situation as complex as the one that she is trying to describe. So to me, the problem is you, Mia, have got to learn how to accurately give timelines, receipts, screenshots, proof in my Heather Gay. Well, Lord have mercy, she is having enough problems. Let me leave Heather Gay because her and her stories, I can't get into her either. Okay. So, what I'm going to say is this, Mia, if you want to have a longevity on this show, you're going to have to learn to say exactly what is truthful. Okay. You can't put no stank on the story because you wanted to take a jab. You're going to have to be consistent with how you frame the story because it's already confusing. And you are going to have to be very upfront when things change, right? So it's your business at the end of the day. But when you make it the cast business and you start describing these things to them, and when they don't understand because things look confusing, if you can't accurately tell them, oh, this is what's happening, you're always going to sound like you're lying. That's just the truth of the matter. Because at times, I don't even understand what's happening. So I know that the general public has a hard time understanding it. I'm trying to provide a solution so that you can avoid this in the future because it looks and sounds confusing. And a lot of times people end up feeling like when I can't understand it, it seems cockamamie. That's just the truth. And I'm sure that's what the cast is experiencing. So you gotta really tighten up on how you frame, explain, and tell the story. Like, because it's not playing out on camera. And I think to the ladies in a way that is really, really like I understand it. Okay. I'm trying to follow along, but it seems like things are changing day to day, and maybe that's what you're experiencing. And that is the part of it I think that you need to accurately describe. I don't know what's happening from day to day. One day we're good, one day he's not good. If that's the truth, then that's the truth. Okay. But some of the things that Gordon is saying also make you look like, I mean, he's kind of laying into you. So I just don't know. I don't know what the solution is for you at this point. And I do think that you will have the most explaining to do at the reunion. I do. With that being said, that's my thoughts on the episode. I tried to give it to you as best I could. Let me know what you guys think. We will definitely be talking about Married to Medicine. I need to obviously hit the gym. I need to send out some emails. I need to just do some other business of like official stuff. And then I'm going to watch Sweet Tea's recap after I rewatch the show because I've already seen it once, but I want to rewatch it again. Sweet Tea has definitely leveled up her game in terms of her content and responding to the show, and I think that's going to be great for her because I feel or sense that her perspective may be minimized, and I don't know why, but that's just my sinking suspicion. But Dr. Heavenly's also going to give it to us too. So I'm excited about that. And I think that this is going to be a dynamic season. So Married to Medicine always gives to me. And as a result, I must always give back. Okay. So with that being said, or at least I do my best to try to support the shows that I feel like I love, and Married to Medicine has always been one of them. Like I love that cast. So with that being said, and Mariah. Okay. So with that being said, I will catch you all in the next